A new study reveals that dozens of families in Pike County, Ohio are living on property that's so contaminated they're at risk of getting cancer.
Yeah, even though the study relies on the federal government's own calculations, the Ohio Department of Health is disputing it. Local 12's Dwayne Pullman investigates.
For Darwin Pettit, this 160-year-old farm has been his home and refuge for nearly 3 decades.
This was my happy place.
But Pettit's happiness here is now being replaced by fear after what was discovered in soil and dust samples collected from his property.
Scares me.
In this human health risk analysis report from an environmental consulting group, Pettit's property was found riddled with radioactive contamination, including particles produced in nuclear reactors. Americium, plutonium, technetium, and neptunium were all found at high levels, and the concentration of uranium in the soil at Pettit's property was detected at over 18 parts per million. That's 6 times higher than naturally occurring levels of uranium. Using the EPA's health risk calculator, the analysis determined Pettit's property has 8 times more radioactive contamination than the EPA threshold risk for causing cancer.
If it was a vacant lot, I would not be allowed to build a house on it.
Jennifer Chandler, who chairs the local council of governments, is overseeing the risk analysis, along with Pike County Health Commissioner Matt Brewster.
It's not gray, Dwayne. This isn't gray. This is absolutely black and white.
A little more than 3 miles from Pettit's farm is this, the Portsmouth Gaseous Diffusion Plant, or PORTS, which for decades enriched uranium for America's nuclear bombs. Pettit's property is far from alone when it comes to high levels of cancer-causing radioactive particles now being picked up. We were able to map dozens of properties that the analysis show exceed EPA's threshold for cancer-causing contamination. On our map, Ports is in the center. So far, the independent analysis found 51 of 57 properties, the flagged ones in orange, were sample tested and analyzed and found to have radioactive contamination rising above the EPA threshold for risk of causing cancer. And nearly every one of these flagged properties represents a home and a family.
You're identifying brownfields and people are living there.
We have sample results and concentrations that show an elevated lifetime cancer risk that's unacceptable for people whose families are living on properties.
For 36 of the flagged properties, the radioactive contamination is at least double, with some triple or up to 5 times the EPA threshold. At this property along Highway 23, the radioactive contamination is nearly 10 times higher than the cancer risk limit.
But the bottom line is that where you live could cause you cancer.
Yes, we have a problem of contamination in the community, and people have been getting sick for years.
The U.S. Department of Energy, or DOE, which owns and oversees ports, has continuously insisted there is no health threat posed by the plant. But in the report, the cancer-causing contamination was stated as coming likely from the port's facility.
Does this prove that the cancer and premature death that we're seeing in this area is absolutely connected to the contamination from that plant?
I don't think there's any question.
The off-site contamination has absolutely been causing cancer in people who are living on or near these properties.
For the past 2 months, Brewster and Chandler sent a series of emails to the Ohio Department of Health, which oversees radiological issues around ports, delivering the new reports and requesting a meeting to discuss the cancer-causing contamination they've uncovered.
That's basically an imminent threat, is it not, by definition?
Yep, it is.
And you can't get a meeting in 2 months?
Not yet.
So I reached out to the Ohio Department of Health and got a response from the press secretary, who stated, "The reports do not lead ODH to conclude that there is a human health risk, mainly because health effects are determined by the magnitude of a radiation dose, not just whether there is a detection of radioactive material." Adding, "The dose in the soil samples are well below the average background radiation level in the U.S." Back at that historic farm,
Nobody's doing a thing about it.
Darwin Pettit, who lost his wife to cancer and his daughter to a seizure, now knows he and his family have been living with unsafe levels of radioactive contamination.
This is the most contaminated place around here.
And any hope of making that right, Pettit says, has long passed by.
Do you matter?
What do you think? No, I don't matter. We don't matter.
Dwayne Pullman, Local 12 News.
And you can read the full statement from Ohio at the Ohio Department of Health, and see the map that we've made of all the contaminated properties. That and much more are inside Dwayne's report on the local12.com Investigates page.